Okay, so before I get started on this, I'm just going to say to the 2 or 3 people who actually watch this channel, you see a video every week and have for the last 3 years, and what happens is I tend to do videos whenever I can, and then I keep them in reserve. And so a video you see, could it be anywhere from 1 week to, in this case, this video is probably 10 weeks old, or it'll be 10 weeks since I last made a video. Anyways, some major changes have happened, and it has disrupted my ability to make videos regularly. Having to deal with some personal stuff, some stuff that happened in our family. Nothing anybody needs to be concerned about, but it just means that there is a possibility that I might miss a couple of videos or a couple of weeks. But it also might mean that there'll be more stuff for me to do videos on. I don't know. So anyways, I had to buy another battery maintainer, and I have been buying the Shoemaker ones. They're an older model, but I'm a little bit on the cheap side, and so I decided to buy this one. It's made by Black & Decker. It's actually made by Bacchus Global, and I think it was like 20 bucks off of Amazon. It's a 6-volt, 12-volt automatic battery charger. It's a smart charger. And first thing I did was I tested it on the first battery I could think of. I have a gel cell battery, a gel battery from an electric wheelchair, and I put that on it, and it didn't work well with that. I don't know if there's something wrong with the battery. It is an old battery, and this thing, the instructions that come with it are terrible. They don't really say how it works, other than, you know, you set it for 6 volts or 12 volts, hook it up to a battery, and let it do its thing. It doesn't say how long you should expect it to go from charging to charged. I think I let this run on that battery for the first time. It was like at least a day, if not 2 days, and the second time it was a day, and both times the battery started getting pretty warm. So the second time I decided, I let the battery cool down, hooked this up, and I also hooked just a regular voltmeter on it, an analog voltmeter, just to see what it does. And the voltage went up to 14.9 volts, probably effectively 15 volts. I checked it with a fluke when it was at its highest, and it was about 14.9. And that would be in line with charging a lead acid battery. You usually want a charger that puts out 15 volts. You hook it up to the battery, and it will current limit, and it'll slowly rise up to 15 volts, and then when it gets to about 14.4 volts or thereabouts, generally the battery's considered charged. You can let it go up to 15 volts and then let it sit there for a couple hours if you want to do a maintenance charge. And it's possible that that's what this thing was doing, that it was sensing that the battery is sulfated. I don't know. Like I said, the instructions are terrible. So just as a test, I took another battery that I have, a deep cycle battery. I hooked it up to the deep cycle battery, and the charge light started flashing like it was charging. The battery voltage went up, started going up, but you could tell that the battery charger sensed that this battery that I hooked it to was fully charged, and it went from a flashing charging voltage to a solid green, and then I monitored the voltage over a day, and the voltage settled down to its resting voltage, and the light stayed green. According to what the instructions on this thing do say is that it does not do a float voltage or a trickle charge. It charges the battery, and then when the battery gets to be fully charged, it stops, and it just monitors the battery voltage until it gets down to a certain level, which it doesn't say what that is. I have no idea what it is, and I have no way, I'm not going to spend months testing it to find out. And then it'll start charging it again, but it doesn't like put a float charge or a trickle charge on it. I don't really like battery chargers that do that. If they're not done right, they can boil all the liquid off of your battery, and it's not really necessary. Some people like to do it, I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up, because, you know, everyone wants to know what these things look like on the inside, but a lot of people are too chicken to open them. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the outside of it. And it's as cheap as it looks. It's plastic. It has mounting brackets, and they are cheap plastic, and the instructions say to be careful that you don't over tighten these because you'll break them. But this is designed to be mounted inside of a motor vehicle or on a shop wall or something. I have no way of testing it at 6 volts. I don't have a 6 volt battery. I do know that if I was reading the instructions correctly, that it can sense if you hook it up to the wrong battery. Oh, and also it has a reverse polarity. If you hook it up backwards, it will tell you. It's supposed to tell you a red light. I haven't tested that. I don't trust a lot of these devices that do that. I've read some reviews where people said they accidentally hooked something up backwards and it fried. Never said, you know, never popped up and said, oh, by the way, you're backwards, it just fried. So I'm not going to try to test it. Okay. And I'm not BigClive.com. I'm not going to reverse engineer this thing. I'm not going to do a schematic. I'm not going to analyze everything. I will tell you that this chip is either painted over. Everything's, by the way, this is conformally coated, or at least it looks like it. There's something over a lot of this surface. It doesn't look like it might be over all of it, but it may be conformally coated. But there's nothing readable on this chip. It's either been wiped off or it's been painted over. This battery charger puts out a maximum of 1.5 volts. It is technically not a battery charger, it's just a maintainer. If you have a battery that's badly discharged, you should use a regular old-fashioned dumb charger or a higher powered battery charger to do the initial charge. And I can't really get this thing out of here too easily. It's looks like it's wired into here. I'd have to desolder this to turn the board over completely. There's not much to it. It looks like it's just a simple switch mode power supply, possibly PWM, I'm not sure. I just had to do something more. When I was looking, after I got this thing and I realized it wasn't behaving the way I was expecting, I went on to YouTube to see if anyone else had done a review on it, and as usual, all the so-called reviews were just unboxing videos and showing you how it operates. Didn't tell you, you know, how if they tested it or not. They just were like, yep, this is a charger, this is what it looks like, this is what it says it'll do, but they didn't actually report on their experience with it. So I would say that this is just fine for sealed lead acid batteries and deep cycle batteries, but I wouldn't try it with wheelchair batteries, gel cells, at least not really old ones. And this is not meant to charge a dead battery. It does say in the instructions, I think it's in these instructions, that it will not try to charge any battery that the voltage is below 4 volts. That's which is better than some. I've seen a lot of smart battery chargers that if the voltage is below 10 or 8 volts or something like that, it won't work. So this is a little bit better than most, but I don't have a battery to test that on. Don't want to run one of my batteries down to dead. The instruction for this they're kind of funny. 90% of the instruction booklet is about safety, and then there's only about a paragraph or two about the actual use of the thing. And there's oh, and also it came with a set of alligator clips, and everybody's going to these plastic ones because I guess idiots have been shorting things out or something, and so they're making them user stupid. It also came with a set of you can plug in that you can bolt to the battery, but contrary to what some of the pictures show, it doesn't come with the cigarette lighter adapter. You know, in some cars you can charge the battery by plugging this into the cigarette lighter, but in a lot of modern cars, when the engine's off, the key's off, the cigarette lighter is turned off. Let's see. Oh, and the instructions for telling you how to charge a battery with this thing, if it's not in a car, are beyond ridiculous. They basically tell you that you should hook the negative connection to the negative terminal, then you should connect, I think it was like 2 or 3 or 4 feet of 6 gauge 6 AWG wire to the positive side, and then you were to get as far away from the battery as you could. And which is funny, because if you follow their instructions and you put this on the negative side, and then you put a 2 or 3 foot length of 6 AWG wire on the positive side, you can only get a foot away. Even if I stretch this apart, I think it's barely a foot. So you can't even follow the instructions. It's just silly. My Shoemaker battery chargers, which I'm going to do a separate video on, has a similar set of instructions, and it's even funnier. I'll go over that when I do the video on that one. But yeah, you follow their instructions because they don't give you enough cable. What they really should be saying is that, you know, if they really want you to do that, then you would have to put 2 or 3 feet of negative battery terminal or wire on the negative side, 2 or 3 feet on the positive side, and then do your connections. But it's dumb. The whole point of it is they're trying to, you know, keep you from blowing yourself up. And you're also supposed to face away from the battery when you're connecting it, and it's just utter ridiculousness. So anyways, that's it for this video. It works, it does what it says, but it doesn't really like anything other than lead acid batteries.